All right, and we should be live. Hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the Ad Lib Podcast. Today is episode number 99, and with me today is Mr. Joe Paolella, the one and only. How's it going, Joe?
I'm very well now, thank you. How are you?
Not bad. Had a very busy holidays. The reason why, unfortunately, we didn't have too many podcasts during the holidays, but we're back, and it's good to be back, at least for this weekend. Paolella. What about you, Joe? Yeah. How are your holidays?
Ridiculously busy. For me, December is always the busiest time of year because we've got our two biggest games at the end of December, only a week apart this year on the 23rd and on the 28th. So it was tough. I didn't go to the cinema that entire month, which was very unlike me. I don't think I watched an actual film that month, like not even in my free time. But I'm back on the horse. I started my year with 2 film screenings in one day, so it's a very good start to the year.
Nice. Yeah, you sent me the photos. Yeah, good stuff. It's being busy. I enjoy being busy, mind you. I don't mind being busy at all. It's being busy means I've got work, I've got stuff to do, which is always a good sign. But having that free time just to watch a film in the evening, I need that. I can't live without that, to be honest. But anyways, let's get straight into it, because today it's going to be, I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible for, I also have to watch a couple of films as well for university, so that popped up. I didn't see the email. I just saw the email this morning, so that's another issue that I have. But anyways, I actually have to watch. Joe, did you watch Percival? Oh God, it's a 1978 film. Percival the something. Percival Le Gallois. Percival Le Gallois. It's about the Knight of the Round Table. Percival. It's a very weird one. Very weird film. But anyways, I have to watch that. I watched I already forgot the name. Red Lanterns. Oh my God. Raise the Red Lantern. Did you watch that, Joe?
Also, I was at university. I'm not too familiar with it.
Yeah, probably then it's one of those university films they make you watch. It was actually very good. I really enjoyed it, actually. Very good. Very good. 1 second. I think I'm doing share screen right now. Oops, did not mean to put on. Yeah, we're back. 1 second, Joe, because you are not appearing on, for some reason, when I do podcast with 2 participants. It's not your image that's being caught. That is very weird.
No one wants to see my face anyway.
Oh. And then share screen with 3, then it looks fine. It's very weird. Now we're good. Okay, podcast with 2 participants. You're in. So, as I was saying, got a few films to watch. And but we also have to talk about today, Joe. We got the Golden Globes 2025 to talk about. We've got best and worst of the year to talk about as well, and Nosferatu. And you watched also, Joe, remind me. The audio cut out for a bit there, Joe.
Watched We Live in Time.
We Live in Time, yeah, that's the one. I watched that a long time ago, but I watched that online. A very long time ago, like before the Christmas holidays, I believe. Been a while since I watched that. Yeah, good stuff. So, Joe, shall we start with the Golden Globes? We'll just take a really quick look at them. Really quick. I don't know if you had a chance to go through the Golden Globes at all. I saw some controversy about Emilia Perez. Apparently, it's the highest winner, basically, with 4 wins, which is weird.
Yes. Did
you watch it, Joe, by any chance, Emilia Perez?
No, I haven't had a chance to go to it yet. I'm a bit annoyed that it's a Netflix film. I do like Jacques Audiard, so I would have liked to have gone to see that film at the cinema, but we live in the world we live in.
It is a cinema film, to be fair. I watched it on Netflix when it came out. Some of the musical moments, some of the songs are decent. There were some really weird songs. I don't know what they were going for. Yeah. There was one, the song they're singing in the clinic. We may have seen a clips of it. It's been all around Twitter, which were very weird, very weird choices. But then there are some decent songs as well. You're going to say, Joe?
I said I did see some of those clips on the internet, and it hasn't really enticed me to watch it, to be fair.
Not at all. But just to bring up some of the winners, we'll go through these really quickly. We've got Best Film Drama with The Brutalist winning. I wish we could comment about it, but A24 decided not to release it. I mean, it makes sense not to release it, right? They're waiting for the hype, the awards hype, to release it. I mean, you want to get people in to watch a 3.5-hour film somehow. I guess this is the way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Best Film Musical or Comedy, that's Emilia Perez winning that. I mean, if it were up to me, I would pick every other film but Emilia Perez here, to be honest with you. Maybe not Wicked. Have you watched Wicked, by the way, Joe?
No, not yet. I don't have much interest to watch it. And I probably should go watch it whilst it's still in the cinema, because I couldn't imagine watching 2.5 hours of that kind of film by myself on my sofa. So I might drag myself to go and see it one night.
Yeah, it's a good thing I went with my girlfriend and some of her family members, right? It's the one way I could get myself to pull myself off the sofa and go watch it in the cinema. I wouldn't have watched it on my own. For very good reason after watching it, to be honest. I wasn't the biggest fan of Wicked, as a lot of people know by now. But yeah, I would have taken Nora, Challengers, A Real Pain, The Substance all over Emilia Perez, to be honest. Emilia Perez also taking Best Non-English Language Film. I've watched a couple of these. The Seed of a Sacred Fig, very good. Going to go watch The Girl with the Needle on Friday. Suppost. Nothing comes up. Yeah, All We Imagine as a Light. I haven't seen pop up yet anywhere. So nowhere to watch it so far. I'm Still Here, apparently. There's also the Best Actress who won for I'm Still Here. Which, again, I don't know if that's available or not, but I don't think it is. And Vermiglio, I need to find the time to watch it. That's the Italian film, Vermiglio. Have you watched any of these, Joe? Any chance?
No, none of these.
I would recommend The Seed of the Sacred Fig. That was very good.
I heard that's very good.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend watched it. It's not a film I'm going to say you're going to enjoy watching, just because it's so heartbreaking and it's a really tough watch, very tough watch. Flow winning Best Animated Film. I really expected The Wild Robot to take this. I'm surprised. Have you watched Flow, Joe?
Yeah, no, I really want to. I'm just kind of glad in this category that Disney didn't take it.
Yes. Yes. That's the positive, right? Inside Out 2 or Moana 2. How was Moana 2 in this list? The reviews were really subpar.
I haven't heard anything about Moana 2.
Average at best.
Completely went under my radar. The day it released, I was like, oh my god, Moana 2 came out.
Yeah. It's weird because usually the advertising is, really in your face with these Disney films. And somehow it's made a ton of money.
Yeah, over here you get it like on the side of buses and at like every bus stop, stuff like that. But I haven't really clocked it this time around.
Yep, weird. But yeah, surprised The Wild Robot didn't take it. But I haven't watched Flow, so I can't comment about that. Apparently, it's very good. This is the one I won't even comment about because it's the most ridiculous. Yeah, you haven't won anything. But here, take the Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award, which is worth absolutely nothing. So this is the one I was talking about. Best Actress, Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. I haven't watched it, so can't comment about it. Again, wish I could have watched The Brutalist, but it's not been made available yet, with Adrian Brody for Best Actor. Demi Moore, which I'm very happy, Joe, takes Best Actress. Yeah. Deserved?
Yes. I'd say deserved. It's nice to see one of the awards bodies acknowledging horror as an art form for once.
And Mikey Madison not taking it. I think Mikey Madison is right now would be flagged as the favorite for this win. I watched Night Bitch. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
We're talking Oscars. It probably is Mikey Madison.
Maybe the international voters are more for the the big star, because the Golden Globes usually are the international voters. So probably they went with the big star, right, with Demi Moore, who, well, according to what she said in the speech, has never ever won anything for her.
No, never won a single award. So it's nice that she's getting her flowers. Finally.
Yeah, good on her. Best Actor. Oh, I'm very happy about this. Sebastian Stan. Me and Franco really, heaped a lot of praise on this film and on the performance, and I'm glad to see at least one awards body giving some attention to Sebastian Stan for a different man. Very happy about that.
I haven't had the chance to see it yet, but I will say Sebastian Stan is someone, since he's out of the MCU so far, He's doing really interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's clear that he's got good taste and he wants to do more interesting things, and he really backed a different man. So it's nice to see it. He's a very talented actor, so I'm sure he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's very good. He's very. It's not a normal performance. It's a very interesting, very different performance in a certain sense to what is expected out of him. I'm glad for that. Of course, I'm pretty sure not Jesse Eisenberg. Oh God, no, but that's for the best supporting actor. Nothing. Kieran Culkin is taking probably best supporting actor. Zoe Saldana taking best supporting actress. She was fine. Probably she was my favorite performance in the film, to be fair. And to be perfectly honest, I haven't watched The Brutalist, so I can't comment about that. Margaret Qualley was fine in The Substance, but the star of the show was Demi Moore.
Yes, but I mean, for me, they would have been the two winners. But that's just me being.
And Isabella Rossellini had a very, very small role. Very small role in Conclave, but like a real powerhouse small role. Like the kind of small role where you have like 6, 7, 8 minutes total on screen, but you completely dominate the screen for those 6, 7, 8 minutes. It's like I'm not gonna remember the film, the Spielberg film, the one where I'm not gonna remember.
Recent one or an old
one? The most recent one.
Fablemans.
The Fablemans. There was a performance like that where it was like a 6, 7, 8 minute performance, very short performance.
Yeah.
In the Fablemans, and completely dominated the screen, and everyone's talking just about him.
Yeah, very famous actor. I can't remember his name for the life of me.
Yeah, same here. I can't remember. And as I was hinting, Kieran Culkin takes best supporting actor for A Real Pain. I really need to check that out. That's on my Plex. I need to find the time to watch it, to be honest. Brady Corbett taking best director for The Brutalist. From what I've seen from the trailer and from some images, I would say deserved, but again, still not been able to watch it.
You watched any of his films?
Nope, nothing else from him.
The man is very clearly talented. Like the first film I saw of his was Vox Lux, because that was in Venice the first time I went. I watched it there, and it's not a perfect film, but from a director point of view, it's incredible. And then I went back and I watched his first film, Childhood of a Leader, which is incredible considering it's his first feature, what he's doing there. So I'm very excited to see The Brutalist, but I need to wait until the end of the month until it comes out here.
Like even just on a technical level, like they use 35, right, for it, I believe.
Yeah.
And like my girlfriend is very interested in it because there's apparently a very big focus on architecture. From what we're reading on an article show, she's really looking forward to watching it as well. So just on a technical level, just like the framing of the images from what I saw in the trailer and from the screenshots that I saw, look really good. So I'm excited to watch that. Conclave taking best screenplay, which I think is very well deserved. If there was one film this year I would have given best screenplay to, would have definitely been Conclave. I'm noticing a real, where is Dune Part 2? So like nowhere to be seen. That's been released this year, guys. Please don't forget Dune Part 2.
I think they're doing the Return of the King thing.
Yeah, Two Towers not getting anything.
Exactly. And then for Dune Messiah, if it's anywhere near as good as the first 2 parts of Dune, it's probably going to win absolutely everything.
That's you just opened up a massive can of worms.
Yeah, it's a strange bet to make with what Dune Messiah is.
You've read the book, Joe?
I've done part of the audiobook and not finished it, and it's something.
It is something indeed. Wait till you read Children of Dune. And you start seeing the worms in the desert. Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, Lord. No, Inter just scored. There we go. 1-0 in the final. And Lautaro scored. Great. Good stuff. So, yeah, well-deserved best screenplay. Have you watched Conclave, Joe? Bilha?
Yeah, no. It's another one because it was
right up your alley. Film. Right up your alley, Joe.
I'm sure. It's great actors talking for long periods of time in a twisty kind of pseudo-thriller. It's definitely my thing.
Really beautifully shot as well. Like the setting is really well used. Beautifully shot. The performances, like Ralph Fiennes. I believe there was Mark Strong was in it. I forgot.
Stanley Tucci.
No, Stanley Tucci. I mix up the two. They looked exactly the same.
They look very
I
similar.
mix them up all the time. Really great performances. Really, really great performances. And just the atmosphere in it. Great stuff. Really, really enjoy. One of my favorites, in fact. We'll talk about it later on, of course. So yeah, right up your alley, Joe. Conclave. Best original song we can skip. Happy to see challengers take best original film score. That's a big L I will take this year for criticizing the score for challengers. But after listening to it at home on my sound system, I appreciated it much more. I can definitely agree.
How dare you criticize Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross?
Don't blame me. Blame a certain cinema's sound system. It sounded terrible.
Blame a certain cinema which shall not be named.
It sounded terrible there. It sounds much better at home. Actually, I have to watch the whole film, to be honest. I have to find the time to watch the whole film again, because I'm pretty sure I'll enjoy it a lot more. Dune Part 2, Stra. Don't know which I would prefer most. Dune Part 2 and Challengers. But probably, again, since the first Dune took it, I'll give it to Challengers, right? Actually, The Wild Robot had a fantastic score as well. Had a really, really good score as well.
I thought that could have been... Did that get nominated for Best Original Song? Because they had an original song in it, and it was very good.
Yes, it did. Kiss the Sky. Yes. Kiss the Sky. Yeah. Nominated. But El Mal took it. To be fair, El Mal was very good. El Mal was my favorite song in Emilia Perez. So, credit where credit's due. I think we can skip the Best TV, right? But Shogun obviously taking Best TV Series.
It's a pretty obvious one.
That's the most obvious win of it. Wait, where's Penguin? Didn't even get nominated. Damn. That is... Squid Game over Penguin. The Diplomat. I enjoyed Mr. and Mrs. Smith. But damn, that's... I don't know about that. But anyways, so that's a bit of commentary about the film side of the Golden Globes. Of course, the Golden Globes also have the TV series stuff, but we're not really going to get into those. Most of the stuff probably you haven't watched anyway, so not really much to comment about there. Joe, shall we go into the reviews? Shall we start with remind me the Florence Pugh film again.
If you guys have reviewed it on the show
we
already.
haven't, because when I watched it, we weren't doing the podcast back then, so we haven't reviewed it so far.
Yeah, so we can go with We Live in Time.
Yeah, We Live in Time. We Live in Time. It's one of those films I can never remember the name for some reason. So, We Live in Time, and here we go. So, Joe, We Live in Time. I watched it quite a few weeks ago, so my memory is what it is. But yeah, go for it. Your thoughts on We Live in Time?
I did want to just point out before you reviewed this film, I pointed out on my review on my own channel, if you are excited for this film, it is best to go in as blind as possible, just because this film does something with structure, which is unusual in these types of films. So are we going to discuss that, do we think, Andrea, or shall I be as vague as possible?
Let's be as vague as possible.
It's quite hard. It's quite hard to discuss it without going into it, but I guess if we want to get through this quickly, we can just be
Let's be as vague as possible, because the whole structure of it all is what makes the film, right, in my opinion.
Yes, absolutely agreed. We Live in Time, directed by John Crowley. This was the big... Actually, I'm actually kind of annoyed about this. This was the big A24 film coming, a big romance story with Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, and I do quotes for A24 because this is only published by A24, distributed rather, as the correct word. I think more credit needs to be given to Studio Canal and Film 4 actually funding and getting this film produced. It's actually annoyed me a little bit as someone who loves British independent cinema that it's been distributed as like, oh, A24 made this, when they did not. And even people know I love A24. I've got 2 t-shirts of theirs. Like I love the films that they make. But I feel like that just needed to be said. So directed by John Crowley, which I believe he do Brooklyn, John Crowley, with Saoirse Ronan.
Yes, that's on my watch list. That's on my Plex right now. I really need to check that out.
Good film. That one. He also unfortunately did The Goldfinch, which is apparently not a good film. But anyway, we'll focus on the good things that he's done. But
that started it, and meh.
Yeah, it does look like from the trailer a very typical, gonna be a very weepy romantic love story, and it is. But as we mentioned, we will not mention how this film plays around with structure, but because of the way it does, that's why the film, at least for me, has the most impact. This was the first film I watched of the year. I watched it in the afternoon on New Year's Day. I was prepared to feel a lot of things. A lot of things were felt, but the reason things were really felt, and this is the two things that the movie got really right, apart from its directorial choice, is its writing is really good, and it's very realistic whilst also capturing those very sweet moments. At least for me, there was only one scene in particular where I felt like this feels like it was written for a movie scene, but it's also very grounded at the same time. All the other interactions that these two characters of Tobias and Albert have feel very real. And then this is the second big thing. They feel so real because, at least for me, the instant these two people meet, there's chemistry between the two.
Yes. Yes.
Immediately. As soon as they met, I'm like, I buy you both as a couple, and I want to see you be really happy.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Those were the two big takeaways for me. I don't know why, when I watched the film, and I made this mistake in my review, going into it, I thought it was quite a long film, but apparently I've just got no concept of time. I thought the film was about 2 hours and 20 minutes long, 2.5 hours long going into it. The film finished, and I was like, holy shit, that was fast. I said, how did you make a 2.5 hour film feel that quick? It's not that long. It was me coming out of a really busy December and losing track of all time. It's only 1 hour and 47 minutes. It's not a long film.
Indeed.
No, the long and short of this one, I mean, this does pander to my tastes. People might be surprised, as people who watch this podcast, where I hate a lot of the Marvel stuff and I like the weird horror stuff. I really like romance films. I really enjoy them. I love a good love story, if it's a happy one or a weepy one, whichever kind of one that is. And I just really, really enjoyed this. It was kind of the perfect film for me to start my new year with. It was like going to a funeral and having a nice warm hug at the same time. as oxymoronic as that sounds. But what did you think, Andrea, as our resident guy with no heart?
No, I enjoyed this. With, of course, a good side of depression added into it. No. Obviously, again, like I said, the narrative we cannot talk about for very obvious reasons. It's basically what makes this film. I really bought into it at once. The second I saw Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield on screen, I was like, yes, they are a couple. They are indeed a couple. And just seeing some of their interviews out, in interviews and whatnot, some of clips of them in interviews and whatnot, I was like, yes, I get where that chemistry came from. So the chemistry is there and is there in bucket loads. I thought it was a decent watch. It made me feel emotional. I laughed. I did not cry, but I felt sad in certain scenes as well. Overall, I had a good time watching it. I thought it was a well-paced film as well. You mentioned this as well, Joe. I thought it was very, very well-paced. And there's a certain element about the structure which, again, helps with this as well. Because as you learn more about the characters, as we learn more about what makes their relationship work and sometimes not work, of course, that is pieced together really, really well, in my opinion. So yeah, it's an overall hit for me. It's a 4 stars for me, with the very strong performances and chemistry, good storytelling. I thought the story, was nothing out of this world. It's a very almost simple normal relationship. But sometimes a simple normal relationship is what you want, right? Not every film needs to be Dune, right? Some films can be a simple romance, which makes you feel emotional, makes you think as well. There are moments in this film where I was thinking about, who's in the right, who's in the wrong, ethically, morally, who's in the right and who's in the wrong. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a good film. 4 stars from me. Joe, how many stars did you give it?
For me, I gave it 4.5 because for what this film tries to be, it's almost perfect. I think maybe I would have wanted a couple. Actually, maybe I would have wanted 10 minutes more from this film, and that was even thinking it was a 2.5 hour film. I was like, I could have done with another 10 minutes. I think this is because I enjoyed the interactions so much, and you made a good point of saying how nothing in the film is out of this world, but I think that's a real strength to it. The whole time I was watching it, because of the writing and the chemistry of the two leads and just how good they are, nothing felt manufactured or fake. I felt like I was just watching two people live out this part of their lives. That's the biggest praise I guess I can give it for what this film wants to be. It does it incredibly well.
Yep, agreed completely. So that is We Live in Time. Highly recommend. By the way, viewers and listeners, hope you are all doing well. Let us know your thoughts on what we've talked about so far, the Golden Globes. Let us know your thoughts on We Live in Time. We're now going to get into the review for Nosferatu, and after our review for Nosferatu, then we will get into our best and worst of the year. So hope all our viewers and listeners are doing well. Hello to everyone. Don't forget to leave a like if you are enjoying the podcast. It's good to be back. Unfortunately, in the next coming weeks, definitely in the next 2 weeks, I won't be able to be here because of university reasons. Next week is impossible, literally impossible. I won't be at home. And the week after, we will have presentations, so I will be very busy. But then from the weeks after, then we should be back again. Back and Gucci again. Probably missed the 100th episode, unfortunately, Joe. Which is very sad.
Okay, Franco and I will take control and we'll finally do the Empty Man watch along.
Yes, the watch along. Yes, Empty Man, but it's going to be long. That's a fucking really long.
Yeah, that's a long watch along.
For no reason, and it should never be that long at ever. But it is what it is. So it'll be what's it, the 50th episode where I had watched it with Marisabel?
I think so, yeah.
That was the 50th episode, right? Damn, that really does not feel that long ago. Anyways, so let's get into it. Nosferatu, Joe. Of course, by the way, viewers and listeners, before we get into the review, don't forget, unfortunately, I don't think I can because I don't have my YouTube logged in here, but actually, I can still do this. I can bring up your channel anyways. Don't forget to check out Joe's YouTube channel. Joe does not short, medium-length reviews. Sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I don't have a time cap on them. I kind of talk for as long as I talk, and I see what happens in the edit. I see what's waffle and what's not.
Yeah. So make sure to check out Joe's channel, subscribe, go and watch them. You get very good views there, Joe. Nice.
Thank you.
Gladiator 2. Damn. Nice one there.
Some of them just explode for some reason. Sometimes.
Yeah, the algorithm. I'll go daddy. But let's start talking about Nosferatu. Nosferatu. What do you think, Joe? Did you succumb?
Disclaimer before I go on about this film. For those that know me, know that I pretty much view Robert Eggers as God. His first film, The Witch, is one of my favorite films of all time.
Same here.
I can quite literally say that it changed me. The Lighthouse was another film that changed me. I remember I watched it in the cinema a week before going into lockdown. And then there was a time in lockdown where I think I watched it 4 times in the space of a week. And I loved The Northman as well. I love everything this guy does. He's a real technician when it comes to things.
Yep.
His technical aspects are just flawless. I love how he's addicted to history and wants to make things as accurate as possible.
Yes.
Sacrificing story. So that's my disclaimer before I talk about Nosferatu, because too long didn't read. You asked if I succumbed. I succumbed, and I succumbed hard for this film. And that's not to say that it is perfect or it is his best film. He is 4 for 4, easy. Like an easy 4 for 4 on his directorial career so far. But when I went to watch this, unfortunately, I couldn't find a 35mm section of this film. There are some happening now, and I might go watch it again.
How sad! Boo-hoo! How sad! Boo-hoo!
Just to double down, I did just go and find the biggest screen possible. So I went to an IMAX to watch this with incredible sound, and from that opening, immediately, like when there's the crying and then you get that opening scene, I was just immediately just like, holy shit, I'm so in for everything in this film.
Yep.
If anyone has seen the original Nosferatu from 1922 by Murnau, this does not do all that much different at all. And a part of me really likes that he just kept it really accurate and he updated things in the story and with characters to make them as period accurate as possible. And a part of me would have liked to have seen a bit of a different take, but when you see the way this guy speaks and you watch all his interviews, his obsession with this film is he just wanted to tell the best retelling of this story that you can possibly do. And for that purpose, it probably is in that regard. But again, where he is really cooking in this film, I didn't think he could do it more than what he did in The Northman. His stuff behind the camera with his longtime cinematographer, Jaron Blaschke. In The Northman, he started incorporating more of these tracking shots, of these long takes, following characters through environments, which I had mentioned this in my review. In his first two films, he didn't really do that much. The Witch is kind of, it's a little bit messy, it's very handheld, it's a bit frantic. The Lighthouse is very still, and there are these long takes, but the camera's always in one place. In The Northman, he started doing these, like there's that big one where he climbs up the wall and jumps onto the horse.
The village,
Arriving
at the village, that was beautiful.
Exactly. In this film, he's doing them on such a complicated level. It's ridiculous. And he praised his production designers for that and the lighting artists and stuff. Like, there's one in particular when Hutter first gets to the castle. He walks through the door and up the steps. And the camera doesn't cut from the moment he walks through the door and up the steps and sits at the table. Like, it is ridiculous to do that kind of tracking shot. And then to speak about the lighting setups he's working with. Like, a lot of people, the scene in particular that they are praising is when the carriage arrives at night.
The crossroads, the one I did in the background. I don't know if you saw, Joe, on YouTube. I put it as the background.
And it is ridiculous, the images that this guy is getting out of it, because I guess what people who don't look into this stuff don't really understand. It's really difficult with a camera, whether it's photography or moving image, to make something really dark or really light. And usually when something is really dark, like I'm trying to think what comes to mind. If we look at that episode of Game of Thrones, of the big battle, where everyone just complained that they couldn't see anything because of how dark it was.
Wicked. Many scenes in Wicked, I could not distinguish what's going on screen.
I'll have to find out when I eventually watch it, but that is not the case here. The dark is almost like a secondary character in this film with the role that it plays. To kind of move on from here, because I can talk about this film forever, if we just talk about the performances across the board, is probably some of the best ensemble cast acting I've ever seen, because you'd see Lily Rose Depp come in, you'd be like, oh my god, she's fantastic. And then Nicholas Hoult comes in, and you go, oh my god, he's fantastic too. And then Aaron Taylor-Johnson, oh my god, he's fantastic. It keeps happening with every character that gets a line in this film. My kind of favorite one in a way, just because I love him so much, is Ralph Ineson, because again, he's perfectly cast. He's got one of the best voices ever. And then Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe is
my favorite.
The stuff he's doing. I do like, because I mentioned he didn't really change much from the original story. What I thought he was going to do, he actually did, where he honed in more on the psychosexual element of this story.
Just like with The Witch, right?
Exactly. And then he rewards us with one of the best ending shots, frankly, I've ever seen. That ending shot is fantastic. And the moment it ended on that shot, I was just like we always say, like, we're back, like, we're so back, like, with film stuff like that. That was another moment of just like, we are so fucking back with this. So, kind of conclude, I love it. It's still not his best film. I still think his best film is The Witch.
Agreed.
That's his most contained and his most focused. But I just can't wait to see what this guy does next. Apparently, he's got loads of like scripts written. He's got an idea for a Rasputin miniseries. He's got a film about a medieval knight. Like, he clearly just likes his history and he wants to stay in those kinds of worlds.
Dude, that's
exactly. I've got full on fuck yeah for that. But I haven't heard anything of how you felt about the film, Andrea, so I'd love to know.
Okay, so first of all, it is going to sound weird, but it's probably my least favorite Robert Eggers film, which is obviously putting it into the context that I think The Witch is one of the best films of all time. I think The Lighthouse is one of the best films of all time. I think The Northman was one of the best films of 2021? 2 of 2022. So keeping that in consideration, it's probably Nosferatu is probably competing with The Northman. Still, I really, really enjoyed it. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I just consider The Witch and The Lighthouse as just masterpieces, in my opinion, in both their genres. But so Nosferatu, like you said, on a technical level is just incredible. Like the stuff Robert Eggers is doing with his camera, the stuff he's doing with the transitions and editing is mind-blowing. Like there were some transitions where I was like, oh, what the fuck? Me and Franco are like orgasming, or in the cinema. Like there's one transition from Count Orlok to Lily Rose Depp, where we're like, oh my god, where she's like outside the window, I believe. I forgot exactly which one. I think it was they were both outside the window, and the transition was just so beautifully done. The flame one, there was a flame one as well. I remember, beautiful transition.
Can we talk about the hand shot over the city?
And the hand shot. Oh, when I saw it in the trailer, I don't know if you were here, Joe, when we reacted to the trailer for Nosferatu, but when we reacted to the trailer, I was like, oh, yes, that scene is going to rock hard. And there's the whole scene of the hand. Oh, yes. And it was so beautifully done. So beautifully done. So really good stuff. On a technical level, some of the lighting, you mentioned that as well, Joe, was incredible. I love the look. I just love the overall look of it all. Like the darkness and the way he plays with darkness, and the way he then lights certain parts of the scene, and the way he uses the candlelight to light the interior scenes, and like you mentioned, the crossroad scenes. Oh, I have no idea how he shot that, and how he lit that.
It feels like at times the movie transitions from color to black and white seamlessly.
Yes.
What he's doing with the light and the color, it's ridiculous.
Indeed. It's like the film transitions from the Murnau film to the Herzog film, and then to a Robert Eggers film. There's like there's the shot where Lily Rose Depp is at the which one? I think I don't know if I saw it here in the. Oh, this is the shot. This is the one which will obviously will remind everyone of the Werner Herzog film. There's also the same shot in the Murnau film as well, but this is more reminiscent, of course, of the Werner Herzog film. Very good use, of course, of the rats. Apparently, the rats were most of the animals in the film were actual animals, like the wolves were actual wolves.
Apparently they were all real. That is the claim. Apparently they used over 2,000 rats in that film.
And Nicholas Hoult apparently was running away from the wolves. And one scene, he said he was so scared that he made a really weird face. And Robert Eggers was like, no, we can't use that shot. It's like, yeah, that is me being actually scared. That's not me acting. That's me being scared of the bloody wolves. And he said, no, let's do that again. So yeah, as you can tell, this scene, I was like, yes, I would just stand up and clap for Willem Dafoe's incredibly theatrical, indeed, but it certainly fit with what was going on in the film, right? But this shot, I had seen a lot of. I think this was the first shot we ever saw of Nosferatu, and when I saw it in the film, in the context of the film, like I just wanted to stand up and clap. But it was just the next scene was just so amazing as well that I did not. And very good soundtrack as well, Joe. I don't know if we mentioned this. It's very, very strong soundtrack as well. I don't know who did the soundtrack, but very strong stuff. So some criticism, and we'll move on now then to the best and the worst. My few nitpicks I had was I felt that the first half of the film was so strong that the second half, kind of in the midway through the second half of the film, there's a little dip in quality, whether it's in the pacing, I felt it a little bit, and also just, Eggers did not have Count Orlok's castle to take advantage of, and on those shots.
I was going to say, I'd agree with you on the pacing side of things. Once it gets to the castle, and he's kind of like, that's where he's situated for part of the film, it slows down a little bit. Then once things get going again, it's just press down again. Yes.
And then the ending is, I wouldn't say it's the best ending because The Witch exists, but it's I believe Eggers' second best. Although The Northman also had an incredible ending. Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse.
I really don't. Oh yes, now I remember the Lighthouse. I don't know. When it's such a great director.
The man knows how to end a film.
Yes, indeed he does. Indeed he does. So yeah, very strong ending as well. That's one criticism. I'm not the biggest fan of Count Orlok, the way Count Orlok is portrayed in this film. I think there's a lack of attention to the character, I believe, in this film. Not really given that much importance. Like when you compare it to the Werner Herzog version. In the Werner Herzog version, you pretty much humanize the Count Orlok, right? And by the end of the film, you feel sad for Count Orlok. Here, he's pure evil, pure monster. Yeah. Which I think I prefer the Herzog adaptation for that element, for the way Count Orlok was portrayed. Even the voice I found a little weird. I wasn't too sure about the voice.
I love the
comedic
voice.
For me. Didn't feel like it fit with the whole tone of the film, but I think that's just a matter of taste here in this case.
Yeah.
But overall, those were my two little tidbits. But yeah, I love Lily Rose Depp and what she's doing, the physicality of her role. Willem Dafoe, spectacular. So yeah, overall, great film. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5, just to give you an idea. So when I said it's probably my least favorite Robert Eggers, there's that to keep in consideration as well. So yeah, overall, fantastic film, 4.5 from me. How much do you give it, Joe?
Exactly the same. For me, it's the four Robert Eggers films that exist. Both The Witch and The Lighthouse are straight 5 out of 5s, and The Northman and Nosferatu are 4.5s out of 5.
Yeah.
On par for me.
Agreed completely. So very, very, very good stuff. Viewers and listeners, I hope you are enjoying the podcast. We've had some very decent viewership today. Good to see. Hope you're all doing well. Let us know your thoughts about Nosferatu in the chat and in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts. Now, Joe, shall we get straight into best and the worst of the year? I think we can start with the worst. Joe, you want to just give me a list of the worst films of the year?
So I only have 4 because, unlike you, I don't like wasting my money on films I think that are going to be bad. But if I go 4 from number 4 to number 1, my number 4 is Anyone But You.
Anyone But You. Which one is that?
Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell rom-com.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay. What happened there?
I was really disappointed. I love a rom-com. I think that they need to make a comeback. I love Glenn Powell. I like Sydney Sweeney a lot when she's in the right role.
And we talk about Sydney Sweeney. I forgot that.
Don't hate Sydney Sweeney. I'm not going to do myself any favors here with what's next on the list, but I'll continue talking about Anyone But You for a little bit.
Oh, I know what's coming next.
You spoke about in We Live in Time how chemistry is so important in these kinds of things with romance. And you're making a rom-com, you not only need to have chemistry from a romantic point of view, but you need to have chemistry from a comedic point of view. And unfortunately, I just thought both Powell and Sydney Sweeney were very mismatched in this film. Powell completely fit. I don't think Sydney was the right person to take this role. But I'll move straight on to my number 3. Actually, I've thought long and hard about what I think about this film. I'm going to give it some praise at first.
The ending is so good, man. The ending is so good.
I watched this film again. I wanted to reassess. I wanted to see if I was crazy. Okay. Actually, I love the last 25 minutes of this film. When it goes balls to the wall and it's a little bit silly and it's overdone, I love it. If you had given me 2 hours of that, you probably would have made my top 10. You know? Unfortunately, the first hour and a bit of this film is just not good. It's very poorly written. And in the role that Sydney Sweeney is playing in that first hour or so, she just does not fit it. And I think that's part of the writing as well, being very poor. But she's perfect then, that last half an hour, which I love so much. So I actually haven't said the name of the film. It's immaculate. My third. Number 3 on this list. Number 2 is, I mean, this could be pretty predictable now. And I should have said before I started saying my worst films of the year, I was very lucky last year. I didn't watch anything that I hated. These are just more things I wanted to like, but I was disappointed with. My worst of the year. But at number 2 is Joker Folie à Deux.
Hmm.
Despite some very good things it had going for it, I just don't think it worked. I did a review on my channel. We spoke about it here. And it's a shame because I thought the first Joker was very interesting and had some very good elements, although not being perfect like a lot of people made it out to be. Joker Folie à Deux was a disappointment. My number 1, this might be pretty predictable. I don't know if we'll share any of these. My number 1 was a huge disappointment from a director whose work I love. One of his earlier films is one of my favorite films of all time, and it's Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis. This is his long in the making passion project, which again, there are some good elements to it. I always say I love when a director takes a swing, and this might be one of the biggest swings of all time. But it's a huge swing and a miss. And I tried to revisit parts of it, and it's just bizarre. And I don't know if we're wrong, and in like 20 years, people are going to go back and be like, no, this is one of the best movies ever made. I don't think that's going to happen. But it was very disappointing. As someone who follows this stuff, who has been a fan of cinema and this form of media for 20 years now, it was a big disappointment for me.
Indeed. So,
sure, you have a list of worst things.
Yeah, here we go. So, so actually, I just noticed that I hadn't added Megalopolis to my 2024 ranked. Lucky for it. Okay. But unlucky for it, you reminded me of it, so I'm just adding it now to the list because, as you can probably predict, it will most definitely make my bottom 5. Probably. Let me see where it places with its rating. So I gave it a 1.5 out of... Jesus. Yeah, so it is what it is. But let me start from my number 5. So my number 5 worst film of the year. To be clear, unlike Joe, I hate all 5 of the films I'm going to mention here. Just some films which didn't quite make the list but should have. Include Next Goal Wins, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, Wicked, and Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. Whatever the fuck that shit film was called.
You watch a lot of shit.
Yeah. So those films should all have made the bottom 5, but there were 5 which were even worse. I hate all these films. Right, so my number 5 worst film of the year was Bad Boys Ride or Die, which was actually quite a few people actually quite praised it. And on Letterboxd, I'm just checking it out now, it's got a 3.2, which is a big surprise for me. I gave it a 2 out of 5. I thought that it was horrifically edited. The way it was shot, the way it used, the way it just gave me a headache. Gave me one of the worst headaches, and I felt dazed and confused after watching that film for like 2 days after that. Me and Franco left the cinema. We were like, what the fuck is going on? We cannot see straight. The headache that film gave me was really bad. So it's one of the worst edited films of the year, probably the worst edited film of the year. If Megalopolis didn't exist. Overall catastrophe of a film, not funny. Most of the jokes were, I hate to use this word, but it really fits, cringeworthy. It was made for kids. Kids probably enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, you probably have the taste of a kid. Number 4.
Even go to film?
Sorry?
Do kids even go to a Bad Boys film?
I don't know. There were quite I don't know about the age rating. I remember there being quite a few kids, though.
Teenagers, I guess.
Yes, young teens. So that was number 5 worst film of the year. Number 4 worst film of the year, I wish I never watched this, is called Atlas. It's a Netflix film. Actually, let me bring it up on... I can bring it up on screen, actually. I don't know why the hell I watched Atlas, but I probably was summer. I had nothing to do.
The Jennifer Lopez one.
Yeah, that's the Jennifer Lopez one. It should be on screen now.
The Jennifer Lopez AI one, okay.
The AI one, yes, the AI one.
I didn't watch it. I just saw it advertised on Netflix.
Yeah, the film that's the final message of the film is, we should embrace AI and we should join with AI and let AI control us to be able to win and do well in life. I hate everything this film had going for it. It is about AI, and I believe it was written by AI as well. From what I experienced in this film, the CGI and the visuals were some of the worst of the year. The action was bland and boring. Yep. Disaster overall. Really, really bad film. Did not enjoy this at all. Number 3 worst film of the year is a film, I watched the trailer for this and I expected to hate it, and I did hate it. It's Borderlands. The sadder aspect of Borderlands is no one wanted to come watch this with me, so I had to watch it on my own, which makes it even worse.
Why do you think no one wanted to come watch it with you?
It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. Like, bland, visually stunted, and nothing going for it. Literally nothing going for it. This is like going back 10, 15 years ago. Oh, shit, we had chat, and I haven't seen. Nosferatu, said Franco. Nosferatu. And Jan said, ranking Eggers movies is going to be harder now. Yes, indeed, Jan, I agree completely. Ranking Eggers movies is going to be harder now. Take away the camera from Grandpa, said the Wasabi of Hasanabi. Oh, shit. Franco, I need to know what that is in reference to. Take the camera
I think he meant Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. Shit, did they draw the game? Oh, shit, I thought they had drawn the game, Milan. Because it's 2-1. And I saw the Milan supporters celebrating, and I was like, oh, shit. They scored. But they didn't. What were we talking about? Yeah, Borderlands. Terrible film. Every character. There's nothing going for any one of these characters. Right? Nothing at all. But the worst one is, what's his name? Kevin Hart is Roland. Like, who the fuck played Borderlands and thought that Kevin Hart should be Roland? Like, I do not get it at all. Like, what was going through whoever cast this film's head? Like, I don't know. And Cate Blanchett is completely wasted. Like, you should not waste Cate Blanchett's time. We need her in good films, not in this shit. So yeah, terrible stuff. Really, really, really disliked it. Like seriously disliked it. Hated it, basically. So yeah, that's number 3. Number 2, and I'm not going to talk a lot about it because I think I'll probably end up throwing up if I talk about it too much, was Argyle, which is the worst looking film of the year. Very worst film of the year. Some of the visuals in it have become very popular on Twitter for very obvious reasons. Some of the CGI is incredibly horrific, like terrible. Like, there's terrible and then there's beyond terrible. Like, there's some of the CGI in this is awful. So yeah, it's horrifically written as well, really poorly edited. The pacing is, it's 2 hours 20 minutes. Why the fuck did I spend 2 hours 20 minutes watching this film? It's god awful, and I feel bad that Henry Cavill was in this film. It actually had quite a big cast: Henry Cavill, Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell, Bryan Cranston, Dua Lipa, Ariana DeBose. These are really good actors. Like John Cena. These are all good, very good actors. And they're wasting their talents in this AI trash. And Matthew Vaughn, man, how the mighty have fallen. No, it's terrible. So that's number 2 for me, Argyle. Number 1 for me is, of course, Megalopolis. And I don't think I need to explain why. I had done a very, very long rant about Megalopolis. And as Franco said, take away the camera from Grandpa. Megalopolis was... Yeah, Joe?
We can quote one of the best letterbox reviews of all time for Megalopolis, which is, "This sucked Megacopolis."
Yeah, terrible. Really, really terrible. Like, everything about it sucked. Like, everything sucked. So yeah, those were my 5 worst films of the year. Joe, shall we go with, let's talk about our... Well, we can just go for it with the 10 to 5 first. Shall we do that? Shall we go from 10 to 6, actually?
No.
Go from 10 to 6 first.
10 to 6.
Yeah, go for it then. 10 to 6.
The only honorable mention I want to do, which it just didn't make my list, this film, and that's The Zone of Interest. And for some reason, I convinced myself that came out in 2023, but it did not. It came out in February 2024. outstanding film. Love Jonathan Glazer. Everyone should watch that film, especially in the day and age that we live in. Kicking off my number 10. And you'll probably disagree with me over I've put it on this list, but looking back, 2024 was really good, and I missed a lot of really good films. Like, I don't have Conclave on this list because I haven't seen it. I heard is it the Piano Lesson, Denzel Washington's son film? I heard that's very good. I still haven't seen that yet. But
it was okay. I watched it. It was okay. Nothing special for me.
I'd heard very good reviews for it, so that I'm just basing it off that. But anyway, my number 10 is Dune Part 2.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
Yes, and the Zone of Interest nearly creeped into the list. Dune Part 2, being someone who likes the Dune novel and being a nerd at heart and loving sci-fi, I had to appreciate the scale of it. And I've got a phrase which I've always said with one of my friends from back home. When we first discovered the works of Denis Villeneuve and how many the run this man has had of films that he has made. This guy, I think he's made 11 films, and as far as I'm concerned, he's 11 from 11, which is ridiculous.
Indeed.
So it felt wrong to not put that director on my list with this film. And I love Dune Part 2. I love Dune Part 1. They're still, if we're going, like, being purists for the book, I would like if they were a bit wackier and weirder as the books are. But I think, I always say this because a friend of mine is a huge Dune fan, and he's like, oh, like, I really want them to go, like, wacky and psychedelic with it. But it's hard to adapt literature, and especially with something like Dune, apart from how dense it is, but its ideas and its themes and the psychedelicness of it, it's very hard to adapt that. So these are the best adaptations I think we're going to get of this story in general, so that's why it made my number 10.
Number 10. Number 9, Joe.
My number 9, where is it over here? My number 9 was a film I don't think it's going to make anyone's list of this year. I'd watched it in a small independent theatre when I was still living in Glasgow. And I reviewed it on my channel. It was I think the third film I ever reviewed for that channel. And after I watched it, I definitely did really like it. It's only since time has passed I keep thinking about this film. And that is La Chimera by Alice Rohrwacher.
Very close to making my list.
I don't think enough people saw this film, and I really like that someone like Josh O'Connor decided to be in the film with his stardom that has now exploded. And for him to be the only English-speaking person in this film, at least natively. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of Italian actors that, frankly, I have never heard of. And it's a really deep and interesting story. And I love these kinds of films which are like snapshots of like a moment in someone's life.
Yes.
And they're very quiet and very intimate at the same time. And again, in terms of endings, one of the best of the year.
Yes. Oh, it was horrific. Ending, so scary.
Yes. Crushingly beautiful at the same time. So that's why I made my list. Unintended. I move on to my number 8.
By the way, Joe, before you go for number 8, by the way, Bob, indeed, it sucked more than a vacuum cleaner shop. Talking about Megaflopolis.
Anyway, to move on to number 8, I knew when I watched this film it was going to make my top 10 just because of how much I enjoyed it. It was an anticipated one of mine because I love these kinds of films, and it did a number on me. And it's The Wild Robot. I watched this film in a theatre full of either people on dates or people with their children, and I was alone. I don't think I've had a film, at least in the animated genre, where from about halfway through the film, I was just in a complete glass case of emotion the whole time. And this film plays very much on its two main themes are that of having a child, which obviously I do not. And its other theme, which really did a number on me, is that of adopted family, of community, of coming together. And even thinking about it now, Jesus Christ, I'm starting to get a little bit emotional. But it's just really great. Like, and this sounds really anti like corporation because it is a corporation that made this film anyway. I love that something which isn't a Disney film. Like I went into Inside Out 2 expecting it to play my feelings, but I go into this, and we had spoken about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and how they're changing up, how DreamWorks are changing up their animation style, and they're really honing in on great writers for these things. It's just ever present in something like The Wild Robot. The voice cast is outstanding across the board. And I think Lupita Nyong'o doesn't get enough praise for what she did in the main role, because it can be hard, I think, to do a robot voice and be able to portray emotion through it, especially with the kind of robot that she's playing over here. But yes, I love The Wild Robot. Stunning, funny, heartfelt, perfectly paced, a great time, whether you're on your own or with someone you love or you have a family. Like it's one film, if someone just says like I want to watch something nice tonight, I'll just go straight away to The Wild Robot. You don't have a soul or a heart or an emotion in you if you don't enjoy this film, at least to some level, if you ask me.
Agreed. I agree with you on this.
Yeah. If we go for my number 7, we're going to see this as controversial. You're definitely going to see it as controversial. But it's from a series of films, a long-running series of films, a series of films I love. And one of the reasons why I love them so much is because each one of its 4 installments is completely different to the one that came before it. This is I see you shaking your head and you're wondering what I'm talking about. And I think the reason why this film didn't hit with so many people is because it's because they wanted it to be like its predecessor. And this film.
You won't believe me, Joe, when I say it's in the same position.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, I'm proud of you. Well, anyway, it is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Again, the reason why I like this film so much, because I love Fury Road. I adore Fury Road. It is, to me, the best action movie ever made, and I say that and I will fight anyone that comes at me contesting that. I've watched that film probably 20 times. If I need any kind of like basic entertainment, I throw on Fury Road and I watch it and I'm blown away every time by the things going on screen. Going into this, and even if you just look at the name, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, I didn't want Fury Road 2. I didn't want George Miller to try and double down on action and make it even wilder and just constant sensory overload. I wanted a story in this one. And this is the most story we've ever gotten in a film in the Mad Max universe. And it's a saga, what we get. We get the character of Furiosa from when she's a child, all the way up until she becomes Imperator Furiosa. And that's what I wanted. It felt like a Greek Odyssey in a way. And I mentioned when we had spoken about it on my own review, and we spoke about it here, that last chapter, because there's obviously, film opens with those like part 1 and this name, but that last chapter named Revenge, I did a physical. I was sitting back in my seat at the cinema, comfortable, and I saw Revenge, and it was instantly just, I'm up. Great performances all around. I thought Anya Taylor-Joy was really good at what she did. Controversial one, you either love it or you hate it. I'm on the side of loving it, is Chris Hemsworth in this film. I love that he's doing overly dramatic and almost like flamboyant in a way.
Liked Chris Hemsworth.
I've seen a lot of people that they thought, they just found it like a joke. They thought his character was funny. I thought he was funny when he was supposed to be, and really menacing when he needed to be. And then in that final encounter, which they have, the revenge part of the film, he delivers one of the best monologues about revenge that's been put in a film like this, and the way it's carried out. So for me, it was what I wanted, and that's why it made this list. Like, for anyone wondering, from here on out, from Furiosa on out, it was one of the most difficult lists of like ranking I've ever had to do in my life, I think, because I love Furiosa as a film, and I don't care if people disagree with me because I'm allowed to have that opinion. I love the rest of the films coming on this list. So I'll move on to my number 6. And I kind of accidentally told a lie at the beginning of this podcast where I said I didn't watch a single film in December. Not true. I watched one. I was back in Malta visiting family. Christmas Eve is always a quiet night for us. My parents just went to bed early. I couldn't really sleep, so I stayed up late. I found that they had this film on their TV system, and I said, I've heard so many great things about this film. My friend David, friend of the show as well, kept telling me to seek it out and watch it, and I decided to, and I was blown away. And that is Sing Sing.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. I knew the basic story of this film, which is someone who's incarcerated in prison joins a theater group, and they find solace and brotherhood in all of that. I did not know for the life of me this film was, one, based on a true story, and two, actual inmates starring in this film. And the fact that we can say it, Coleman Domingo is out of this world in this film, but the fact that everyone around him is also basically on the same level is ridiculous.
Domingo is such a talented actor, man.
He's
one of the best in the business right now.
Yes. It's just, I remember I recommended it to everyone after I saw it. I'm like, it's just so, at points it's funny. Story is interesting. The cast is outstanding. And it's deeply emotional and affecting without being over the top. And that's very important in these kinds of films. There isn't just like one of these really grandiose, like very cinema moments. And again, just the ending. It had so many good endings this year, at least in the last year, I think. And it's a film I really, really, really love.
Agreed. All right, so let me go through from my 10 to 6. Just gonna skim through them really quickly. My number 10. By the way, honorable mentions for Perfect Days. Really enjoy that. That's number 14. A Different Man, number 13, for the very, very strong performances and great atmosphere. Number 12, His Three Daughters, beautifully shot and 3 great central performances. And The Taste of Things takes my number 11 place. That's a French film. If you love food, you're going to love that film, man. Just love that film. My number 10. Joe, I agree with you. Sing Sing is a fantastic film. And Sing Sing made my number 10 place. So yeah, I really enjoyed watching it. Very emotional film. One of probably, looking at my top 10, it's the film that made me feel most emotional. Yep. Through all those, I'd say Sing Sing is the film. Maybe number 9 is also one that made me feel very emotional. But Sing Sing, I was definitely the film that I think made me feel most emotional. I thought that it was also very, very solidly shot. The performances were strong. Coleman Domingo, great stuff, really great stuff. And really well written as well. So Sing Sing number 10. And Nora takes my number 9 spot. You might think it's a bit low, but yeah, I enjoyed Nora. Could have probably made my number 8 as well, but it was a big, big fight there between Nora and the next film. Fantastic film. Oh God, Milan scored. I really enjoy Sean Baker's films, and I think Nora is another very, very strong film from him. Really, really empathize with the Mikey Madison character. And the final scene just broke me completely. That's number 9. My number 8 is The Promised Land, which is a film I'm sure very few people have watched. Also called Bastarden, directed by Nikolai Arcel and starring Mads Mikkelsen. It's one of the best shot films of the year, in my opinion. Like, atmosphere is second to none. And yeah, it's just a great, great story. Great epic, kind of like revenge story in a certain sense. Really well done. Really great film. Number 7 is Furiosa, and I completely agree with you, Joe. That's number 7. By the way, because Jan commented as well in the chat, said also Furiosa is my number 7 as well. Same thoughts with you, Joe. Cannot top Fury Road, and despite that, it still has a strong story. So and I agree completely. Furiosa definitely deserves its number 7 spot. And number 6 is The Zone of Interest. Zone of Interest, which I believe is... Well, for many people, it will be a 2023 film. For us, it's a 2024 film because it came out in 2024. So that's where we'll place it. Again, like chilling film. Like watching it, I was like, my mom couldn't continue watching it. My mom had to stop watching it. She couldn't take the sound, and the sound design for it is horrific, but extremely powerful as well. I mean, for what it is, right? So fantastic film, really well made, and yeah. Hats off hats off to Jonathan Glazer for giving us a really well made film. So those are my 10 to 6. Joe, number 5.
We go 1 for 1 on this one.
Yes, we'll go 1 for 1 now.
Cool. So my number 5 was in your 10 to 6, and that's Anora. I love the films of Sean Baker, and this is where the part of my list where the top 5, I was really splitting hairs. What it really came down to is, I think from a mostly technical point of view, most of these films are pretty much perfect for what they intend to do. So it had to come down to pure enjoyment factor at the end of the day, how I decided to do these films. But Anora, I just had such a good fucking time. You don't always expect to in a Sean Baker movie as well, but then, as you say, with the ending, it doesn't shy away from getting very real when it needs to, and it's almost a huge tonal shift, which could have totally been fumbled in the hands of a less capable director. That would not have gone well. Don't think. Incredible performances and set pieces, and it's fantastic. I think Mikey Madison will probably win the Oscar for Best Actress for this because she's out of this world.
Yeah, probably.
In this film.
Probably.
I'd really like to see Yura Borisov win Best Supporting Actor in it because he was one of my favorite parts of this film. He is fantastic in this film. He takes a lot of the comic relief, but then a lot of the real moments as well. And I can't recommend it enough to anyone.
Indeed. So, my number 5 is Conclave. Conclave, which you haven't watched, Joe. Could easily have taken number 4, number 3, but I gave it the number 5 place at the end. I think we've already talked about it, right? It's another very well shot film, technically well done. Screenplay for me should win every single award of the year. It's obviously an adapted screenplay. It's adapted from a book, but yeah, just and you know, as someone who, you know, I'm not a believer, but I love films about fate, and the way this film tackles fate in a very respectful manner. But it challenges fate. It gives very interesting and very smart commentary about fate and the papacy and the role of the Pope. And yeah, it's really well done. Very smart film. You know, sometimes we comment about the fact that how we don't really get that many smart films anymore nowadays. This is a very smart film. So yeah, Conclave, hats off. Number 5, fantastic film. Number 4, Joe.
And number 4, I'm going to risk a copyright infringement with this one because I'll just play a little bit of it, but we can get away with 10 seconds, so I'll do that. But I'm just going to do this to give away my number 4. We get to yeah. Number 4 is Challenges. I adored this film when I watched it. I think as soon as I finished watching it, I raved to you and Franco about it, that you guys would love it as well. But Luca Guadagnino is a very special director, and I think he kind of saw it coming after he'd done these pretty talky, emotional dramas, especially after the success of Call Me By Your Name. I think he saw himself being put in a little bit of a box of, okay, this is going to be the Italian director who does very emotional, talky kind of dramas. Then after that, he goes and he does a Suspiria remake, a very good Suspiria remake. And then he makes Bones and All, which stupidly no one watched. Fantastic film.
Agreed.
And then, not only that, he decides to make this film with huge stars in it, with the likes of Zendaya and now Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor. This kind of pseudo-campy sports movie. And I remember watching the trailer for this for the first time, and I'm like, how is this going to work? But it works on every single level that exists. The performances, all top notch. The cinematography. If I could show anyone what it means to be creative with cinematography, I would show them the final game, the final set of tennis in this film, because the way the camera is moving in that, it made me wish I had watched it on a bigger screen than I had seen it, because POV from the ball and then the camera's moving all over the place. It's ridiculous. The editing, and then we just come down to the soundtrack, which I just played. And the screenplay is fantastic, and he does things with structure where he's moving from different timelines and stuff like that. It is just an outstanding way to spend 2 or so hours watching a film. I adore this film.
Yep. So that is Joe's number 4. My number 4 is another film that will probably not make a lot of lists because it was probably a 2023 film for many, but for Malta it was a 2024 film, and that is Poor Things, which, as I said, makes my list. I really, really enjoyed Poor Things. And when I left the cinema, I was just a tad bit too critical about it. But the more I thought about it, the more I noticed, man, I had a fucking good time at the cinema watching this film. Like, such a great film. Really creative on a visual level. The stuff that Yorgos Lanthimos does here with the visuals is just crazy good. Crazy good. So yeah, I had a very good time watching Poor Things. The Favorite is another one of my all-time favorite films, and this one fits right there. Gorgeously bizarre, it's the kind of film where you're like, yes, this is cinema. This is something fresh and new. Again, it's an adaptation of Frankenstein, but done in a very smart, very creative, very new way, which is something we all love and want. So Poor Things takes my number 4. Number 3, Joe. Joe?
Would have definitely made my list, but I was lucky to see it just before the end of 2023.
Yep. Number 3.
My number 3. This is where things got very tough for me. Very tough indeed. But I just kept thinking back on the year and the films I returned to the most had come out. And I said, enjoyment factor, but also emotionally affecting. This was a film I got to go to a special screening of, which also adds to kind of flavor, I suppose. I shockingly haven't seen it in like anyone's lists, and I think it's an actual genuine crime. Sadly, I don't have it anymore. I'd stolen a poster from the cinema I went to for this film because it was hanging out of like the class that they're in, so I decided to be brave and steal it, and I got away with it. But it's the Iron Claw.
Okay.
This does everything I wanted to do. I'm a bit of a sucker for sports movie in general, being a very amateur athlete myself. I know a little bit about the emotions that go into these kinds of things. And even working in professional sport now, you kind of see it displayed. So that's one element of it where it won me over. But it's just the fucking tragic story, which in the film is actually less tragic than the real life story of this poor family that went through these things. Speaking for the cast, I mean, you've got the supporting cast of Jeremy Allen White and Harris Dickinson, both very, very good in their roles. We get to main star, which is Zac Efron. This might surprise some people, but I've actually kind of always been a really big fan of his. And I'm not a High School Musical person. I've never watched those films in my life, but I'd seen him in little roles here and there. I don't know why. I'd always just sensed, maybe through intuition or through what he was doing, there's something to this guy, that there's an inner pain which he's capable of bringing out, which the roles he's in are not doing for him. And he gets to do it in spades in this film. He is fantastic. I thought at the last Oscars he should have at least been nominated, but he was not. So it can be a tough watch because it's very, very sad, this film. And I don't know, it made me think, because the main thing is about family and how these tragedies affect these families. It made me think a lot about my own family situations and being grateful that I don't have to go through these things with family members. But it's a film where I watched it at that special screening, and then it happened to be available online a week later, and I got my hands on it and I watched it again immediately. I have watched it another 2 times since, and you might find it weird that I can revisit a film like this, but even just what it's doing with its editing and its choice of famous songs that it's decided to include in the film and soundtrack, it's just fantastic, if you ask me.
Yeah, which is a very, very strong film. So number 3, my number 3 is another film I don't think I'm going to see on too many lists. Another film that for many countries was probably a 2023 release. For me, it was a 2024. I reviewed this on 19 January. And that is Monster, which is a Koreeda film. Hirokazu Koreeda. And yeah, bloody fantastically told story. It's one of those films similar to Rashomon, where you see different perspectives throughout the film. So you start the film seeing one perspective and you're like, yeah, I see where this is going. And then the next perspective comes. And you're like, wait a second. Wait, no, I did not see where this was going. And then you get the third perspective. You're like, oh, okay. This went like the opposite direction I thought it was going to go. And it's such a heartfelt film. Real mature storytelling. It's the kind of film that demands attention from you, right? It needs you focused throughout. And if I remember correctly, because it's been a while since I watched it, this was a very long film. It was, let me see, 2 hours. It was a 2-hour film, so not too long. But it's a heavy film, tackles very heavy themes. And probably this affected me more because I'm a teacher, and of course I deal with students, and it's a film about two young students, and that's probably another reason why it affected me quite a lot, and also involves a teacher in the whole story. But it's just so powerful, very powerful storytelling, told in a very beautiful way, and the soundtrack, the score by Ryuichi Sakamoto, rest in peace, is again fantastic stuff. And the younger actors, Joe knows I usually hate the young actors in films, but here the young actors, I wrote down their names, Kurokawa and Hiragi. Wow, tip my hat off to you guys, you were fantastic. Oh yeah, number 3 for me is Monster. Number 2, Joe.
Number 2, this is where I might get a bit predictable, because then this is just pandering to my absolute tastes in films that are my favorite genre. This was tough, very tough for me to choose. But again, I went on. It had to come down to pure enjoyment at the end of the day. This is a film which probably quite a few people will disagree with me. Is maybe even in my top 10, but this high in my top 10. But my number 2 is Longlegs.
Ooh, all right.
The film was everything I wanted it. I've even tried to see people's criticisms of it and revisit it, and they just don't compute in my head. This film did everything I wanted it to do, and I'm now Osgood Perkins is directly on my radar. I can't wait to watch The Monkey when it comes out. I think next month. But if anyone wants to hear more thoughts about Longlegs, they can go and watch my review. But I'll let you get to your number 2.
By the way, Wasabi of Hasanabi Franco said the Sin of Certainty speech. Oof. And Francesca Vella said Monster is the best. I agree. Monster is the best. So my number 2, and I have a sneaking suspicion this is going to be our number 1, is The Substance, directed by Coralie Fargeat. Fantastic film. Like the places this film goes is just nuts, and I just love all the different references to classic horror films. I adore Demi Moore's performance in this, like the scene where she's staring at the mirror and considering whether she should go out on a date or not, the scene where she's trashing the kitchen. Like everything about Demi Moore's performance is so delicious and so powerful. Like just on a visual level, the stuff done by the camera, the wide shots, like and the way he kind of like overexpose, like even the sound design when he's eating the shrimps, even eating the prawns, it's just so ridiculous, and it's bashing you on the head, but it's bashing you on the head with the most enjoyable hammer ever. It's like the film is an experience. It's the kind of film where I could rewatch endlessly. I adore this film. And I think Substance was very close to being my favorite film of the year. Upon rewatches, it very much might be. But for now, it'll take my number 2 spot because I like really fantastic stuff. Number 1, Joe.
Number 1. People might have been seeing me drink out of it all show, but I mean, this was one where when I first saw it is The Substance. By the way, this is a bottle of the activator from The Substance. If you don't know, go watch the fucking Substance. This was one where I was excited for it because I really liked Coralie Fargeat's first film, Revenge. Where a lot of things which she did in that film, she took into The Substance, like stuff with sound design and gore and being over the top. But I was obviously excited to see it. And I did. Longlegs was firmly my number one film of the year, and I didn't think anything would make me think otherwise. And the whole time throughout The Substance, just a big dumb smile on my face, from the performances to the camera work to the soundtrack, to the balls to the wall attitude of it. You mentioned how it hits you over the head with stuff, and that is one thing people have criticized this film for. The two main things I've seen criticisms for this film is the overemphasis on its metaphor and the length of this film. And on those two criticisms, I'm going to tell everyone that holds those opinions to shove it up their ass. Because on the length of this film, I could have watched this film all day. It's incredible to look at. It's incredibly fun. Like, I don't really need much more than that. And on the metaphor thing, that is the point, guys, of this film. It is not one for subtlety, and that is clear from everything it is doing, from its use of the lenses that Coralie Farge is deciding to use, from the soundtrack to the sound design to... We just talk about that last 20 minutes. Like, nothing is subtle in this film. So if you came out of that being like, like, I get it, like the metaphor, like they didn't need to go that hard in it. It is just clearly not for you. This was absolutely for me. I adore this film. When I bought this very bottle all the way from the United States, I found out that this website had more official merch of The Substance, and I had to just make an adult financial decision to not buy it. I can't wait for the 4K Blu-ray to come out. I'm definitely going to get that as soon as it does. I think it's the end of the month. Because I could watch this film every day. And it's not a short film, as we mentioned. Demi Moore, thank God someone has recognized the work of a woman working in horror and given credit where credit is due. And fair play to her for doing that at the age of 60, finally winning something. I hope now this means bigger and better things. Margaret Qualley is someone I have loved in everything she has done, and again, she's fantastic. And I cannot wait see what Coralie Farge has for us next.
Indeed. Have there been any hints what she's doing next?
I don't recall. No.
Yeah.
I think the only thing so far is that she's teaming up with Josh O'Connor, and I'm in.
Okay, nice. Like where that's going. And my number one, to absolutely no one's surprise, is of course Dune Part 2. I just finished an assignment about Dune. I adore the Dune world. I think the book itself is one of the best sci-fi books of all time. I really enjoyed Dune Part 1. I thought Dune Part 1 was a fantastic setup. And, Dune Part 2 just gave us everything. Like, everything we expected after watching Part 1 and more. It's got some scenes that I will never, ever, ever forget. Like, just the scene where we see Geddy Prime, for example. Crazy scene with Geddy Prime in the black and white. We've got the scene with Timothée Chalamet holding the knife with the Fremen underneath him, cheering, and then they launch the nukes. Like that scene, the whole sequence is crazy good. Like even the just certain moments with Timothée Chalamet riding the worm to the south, and then the soundtrack, the way the soundtrack changes from that glorious to the dark strings, which would remind you obviously of the Harkonnen theme. It's great. By the way, Joe, Franco said movies when subtle but it's too subtle, movies when not too subtle but it's not subtle. And then he said, Joe, where's Civil War?
Almost made my list, and I almost did it just to piss off Franco. So you can.
Yeah. I just Dune Part 2 is everything I love about films. Like epic filmmaking. I'm so happy it made a lot of money. It's so artistically done. The performances are fantastic. It's technically impeccable. Like the amount of shots, like even just the whole opening sequence where they ambush the Harkonnen's troops. in the desert. It's so beautiful. The coloring, the color contrast on that is just crazy good. So yeah, I think Dune Part 2 was the kind of film. I've already watched it like 3 times already this year. I got the 4K Blu-ray for it. And trust me, I will watch it many other times. So yeah, just a fantastic experience. You wouldn't have, but it's genuinely surprising it's not on your top 10, Pero, said Franco.
Well, I watched. We were blessed with many great films in the year of
Indeed.
2024.
Indeed. And Dune Part 2 was definitely one of them. So that's my number one
Civil War.
of the year.
Civil War was one of them.
I can't agree on that, Joe, unfortunately. I wasn't the biggest fan of Civil War either.
I know. I remember you and Franco both targeting me like I was some rebel in a big war. I know.
Haven't seen any attention given it to it in the award season, Joe, by the way. Civil War.
But I wouldn't have expected to.
Like on a technical level, I think it could have got some attention. Maybe on editing, for example.
Maybe.
Editing, cinematography, there were better shot films this year. But I think editing, it could have caught. But the release date probably did not help at all.
No. And let's not forget that the Academy also gave Best Editing to Bohemian Rhapsody once.
Fuck's sake. Yeah. So that's it for today, Joe. I think we can call it a day. I have to go and watch Percival, the 1978 film, which I have no idea what's going on so far. I've watched an hour. I'm pretty confused on what's going on, but I have to complete the film. But thank you to all the viewers and listeners who joined us today. We had some very good viewership today. Thank you to all the chatters as well. Good to hear your thoughts in the chat. Viewers and listeners who join us later, again, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoy the video, and please subscribe to the channel if you enjoy what we do here at the Ad Lib Podcast. Next week will be episode number 100. It will be our watch-along episode. I think it's going to be... What did we say it's going to be, Joe?
I mean, I kept saying The Empty Man, but I guess we'll discuss.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll discuss the tendency. We'll discuss the tendency because The Empty Man is very long. Unfortunately, I won't be here because I will not be at home on Monday. And yeah, Franco said, thanks, guys. Sorry again for the last minute. Fortunately, was genuinely not in a good mental state. No worries, Franco. No worries. You have to join in next week, though, because I won't be here. So, see you guys next week on the Ad Lib Podcast. Ciao, ciao, Joe. Hope you have a great week.
Yeah.
And see you guys next time. And with that,